Hi, I'm Christopher Kirky, Director of the Center for the Study of Canada and Institute on Quebec Studies at SUNY Plattsburgh. I'm delighted to introduce you in a moment to my colleague and friend, Dr. Andre Senecal, Professor of Romance Languages and Director of Canadian Studies, Emeritus at the University of Vermont. Andre is going to look in greater detail at the New France in the Champlain Valley 1609 to 1759 map that he has created, and specifically he'll look at the images and iconography that's loaded into this map and explain their origins and provide an appropriate context for them. Thank you.
Portraits of historical personage that appears on the map New France in the Champlain Valley. We could say that most of these images do not represent, as far as we know, likeness of the featured person. That's true for Champlain. There's no likeness of Champlain that survived. Perhaps there never was. Moving down on that left column, the illustration showing us the French king, Le Domaine du Roi, the likeness of Louis XV is authentic, and so is the portrait of Montcalm at the bottom of the sheet, which is based on a historical oil painting. The image of Michel Chartier de Lotbinière is also a likeness of the real person, and so is the image of Charles de Beauharnois de la Boche, Marquis de Beauharnois. The reason why we have likeness of all these people is they were important enough at the time to merit an oil portrait, and these images have come down to us. The same thing is true of Ocar, the intendant, going up the column here. Curiously, there's an image, a portrait of Ocar, which is now in the Municipal Museum of Vaudreuil, which is a suburb on the west end of Montreal Island. The image of the Hertel, Zachary François Hertel de la Frenière, is a made-up portrait. The portrait of Alexandre de Prouville de Tracy is an authentic rendering of what he looked like, which is not the case for René Nicolas Levasseur. It's entirely the product of an artist mind. And the same thing is true for François Foucault, the king's storekeeper in Quebec City. We have no idea what he looked like. And finally, the beautiful image we have of a North American Indian is from the British Museum, and unfortunately is exported for its beauty more than anything else. It does not correspond in any way to what a Mohawk or another member of the Five Nations or a Huron or an Erie or an Abenaki would have looked like. It's a beautiful image that is in a manuscript in Britain. Somebody who would have been living to the west and the south of the Susquehanna. Otherwise, we used a very authentic map which dates from right after the French regime, one of the earliest maps of the state of Vermont, with enough detail so that we could include the state of New York. These windmills were constructed all over the province of Quebec, and a few of them have survived. You can see them. One of them, for example, on an island to the west of Montreal, so driving toward Ontario, you can actually see one of these windmills that's been restored and is in working condition. They were almost all a carbon copy of each other. because of the technology available at that time and the material available in New France, made it almost, unless you were using water power, a certainty that you would build a windmill in this form. So a windmill was one of the most expensive enterprise that a seigneur had to expand. So a lot of money went into these windmills, and they're very interesting to see in action. There were two windmills in the Champlain Valley. One of them was at Windmill Point, way up at the northern end of the area that interests us, at a place called Windmill Point, but in French time called Pointe à l'Algonquin, or Detour Point, Point du Détour. And the other one, of course, was at Fort St. Frederick, and that one was used by the intendant Ocar for his seigneury, but since Ocar was a crafty man, it was paid for by his boss, the King of France, Louis XV, who was sent the bill for the windmill. That windmill survived in ruin and is part of the base of the Champlain Lighthouse, the commemorative monument that is still standing and was recently repaired and renovated at the northern end of the Crown Point Peninsula. The windmill of Foucault, we think that part of the foundation, because the British, the American colonists, burnt it in the 1740s, and Foucault was never able to send men to restart the colony, the budding colony that he had installed there. But we think that as an archaeological site, the place where that windmill stood could yield some interesting evidence, because like the Champlain site in the Ticonderoga Peninsula, the windmill ruins became the base for a lighthouse that was in service for a long, long time in the 1800s at the other end of the lake.